So most of us are familiar with the words of Jesus when he said, if you have faith as small as a grain, a seed of mustard, as a mustard seed, he said, you can say to this mountain, move from here or there, and it will move. Now, most of you know that passage and are familiar with it out of Matthew 17. But don't we have to assume, I know I do, I have to assume that that is not meant to be taken literally. One reason is because in the last 2,000 years, there is no record of any individual actually, literally praying a prayer and seeing a mountain move from its location to another. Now, I have to assume, since that hasn't happened in the last 2,000 plus years, that either no one has yet possessed enough faith, yea, not even the size of a mustard seed, or it's not to be taken literally. Besides, can you imagine the trouble that would be caused? I mean, it wouldn't be worth it if it could be taken literally, because articles like this would start popping up. Now, I don't often read from this source because I'm a little too much of a cynic myself to pick up on Christian satire. I like it a little bit too much. But this was found in a magazine called the Wittenberg Door. Jesus told his disciples that with enough faith they could move mountains, but the state of Colorado is not pleased by that sort of theology. Colorado recently filed suit against the formerly flat state of Illinois, where a group of Christians managed to use their faith to steal a large portion of the Rocky Mountains. Yeah, I guess you could say it was surprising, said Betty Wandecker, a Peoria housewife who woke up one morning to find the Rocky Mountains on her back doorstep. John Elway was unavailable for comment at his home in Englewood, Colorado. As if the Colorado-Illinois dispute wasn't confusing enough, Christians in Nebraska plotted to faith steal another portion of the Rocky Mountains and bring it to their flat state. But instead they inadvertently moved Mount Rainier and placed it just outside the city of North Platte. And on and on and on that kind of satire could go if it was all to be taken literally. So we assume, don't we? It's part of the reason that that's tongue-in-cheek, part of the reason that we smile at that article is because we assume it's figurative. Okay, if it's figurative, then what does the mountain symbolize when Jesus said you can move mountains? It symbolizes the insurmountable. Insurmountable illness. Insurmountable debt. Some insurmountable task before you. Now, some of you have moved some of those mountains. And if you did, there was one ingredient that you had to possess, right? That's what Jesus said. That one ingredient is faith. And guess where your faith has to be placed? It has to be placed in the, you can underline that, the mountain mover. There's only one. The God who can overcome the insurmountable. But it is his choice to do that through our faith. That's why we've been spending time in the ultimate faith chapter of all of Scripture, Hebrews chapter 11, called the Hall of Faith. And what we're seeing as we look through this is that people of faith are pleasers of God. You remember the first week we looked at this because we're building blocks that tell us about the kind of faith that God wants us to have. And the foundation block, as we said, it really has to go in a progressive order. The foundation block, it all begins with faith in the person of God. Faith in who he is. Not some book, not some group of rules or doctrine. It starts with faith in the person of God. And so we looked through this 11th chapter, and we learned about the person of God. We learned that you have to have faith that he's invisible. You have to have faith that he's creative. You have to have faith that he's resolute, that he has strong opinions. You have to have faith that he is faithful. You have to have faith that he is generous, because all of those words and more describe who he is. Faith in the person of God. Then last week we said the next building block is faith grows. Now that you've put your faith in the person, now it grows through the precepts of God. So the person of God, that's who he is. The precepts of God is what he says, his words. And we, again, just went right back here to this 11th chapter, and we saw that there are some different aspects to his word. For instance, there are commands. If you're going to have faith in his commands, it means you're obeying them. We saw that there were warnings in here, like when he warned about the flood that was coming. And we saw that real faith heeds the warnings, obeys the commands, heeds the warnings, and claims the promises. And that's where we closed up last week as we were looking at this portion of faith, the precepts of God. Okay, so faith begins with the person of God, and it moves up, it grows through the precepts of God, and finally, one more level here. It's like a pyramid that we're building. Faith steps out on the performance of God. Faith steps out on God's performance. That is, not just who he is, not just what he says, but specifically what he does. The actions of God. And he indeed is a God of action. He's not sitting around twiddling his thumbs. He is a God that moves throughout the universe. Joe Aldrich said it this way. He said, once you discover that you can change the world, you will never be the same. Well, how do we change the world? How do we move mountains? We do it through faith in the mountain mover. And one of the things he does, he moves mountains. Now let's divide God's actions this way. Let's look at past, present, and future. First of all, so if we're looking at the performance of God, we're saying that's faith in what he has done. And if you have faith in what he's done, you don't forget it. It gives you a philosophy of life. For instance, what has he done? Well, it's right here. We saw it in this third verse of this 11th chapter. He created the world. Not bad for starters. He did it in 7 days. Amazing actions. What else did he do? As we looked through this 11th chapter, we saw that he performed miracles. Last week we were talking about how he just translated Enoch, where he didn't even go through death, and brought Enoch to be with him. A miracle. How about this miracle that we looked at last week? It was it's kind of all throughout that chapter, but especially in verse 12. He gave 2 very, very, very old people a baby, a son. What did he do in the past? Parted the waters of the Red Sea. Kind of did it at the last minute, but he knew what he was doing. Dropped the walls of Jericho. That's in verse 30 of this 11th chapter. And of course, the ultimate of ultimate, raised the dead. And the ultimate of those, the resurrection of Jesus. Totally without the help of man. Okay, so we're talking here about faith steps out on the performance of God. So we're having faith in what he has done. Now here's what that does for your faith. Trust or faith is proportionate to performance. Stepping out on the performance of God. Listen, if a husband is faithful to his wife for the first couple years of their marriage, trust is growing on his performance. If he fails and becomes unfaithful, but then comes back and tries to work it out, if he says to her, you need to have as much trust in me as you did before I did what I shouldn't have done, the answer to that is, give me some time, buddy. Because it is proportionate, trust is proportionate to performance. Need a little help here, Mac? You sure? Well, we're going to keep an eye on you, buddy. And so are our prayers always. Many of you know that we have some great help here in Paul. Paul is definitely already keeping an eye out there as an EMT. And we appreciate that so much. Lord, just give Mac your presence, but give him good health right now. Just restore him. In Christ's name. Things that God can do. And the trust comes on performance. I mean, let's say we have an ex-convict who serves time for a horrendous crime. On the day that he is out, does he say to the world, you owe me all of the trust that you gave me before I committed those crimes? If he does, he's expecting too much. Because trust is built on what? Performance. And so it requires time. Well, it just so happens with our God that his performance is flawless. Since the beginning of time, and that's a lot of time, he has consistently fulfilled his promises. Never broken a promise. 3/4 of the prophecy here in Scripture is already come to pass. There has never been a task that he has accomplished that is too overwhelming for him. There is never a time when he was unfaithful to you or to me. Don't forget that when it comes to his past performance. When he saved you, and perhaps others that were close to you, perhaps other family members, when he rescued you from financial ruin, don't forget it. When he reconciled broken relationships that perhaps you were responsible for, don't forget it. When he protected you from serious harm, and you know that you're here today because it was with you in that incident, don't forget it. Don't forget God's past performance. And while I'm at this, let's talk about NTCC. Don't forget his part. Don't forget his part in starting NTCC. 2017, I wasn't here. I wasn't part of that. 61 people with a huge vision. I always like to say 61 people over 61. With a huge vision that just committed to it. Don't forget God's part in that. Don't forget the way he strengthened this church. I guess you could still say we're in our early days, but the early days, as he raised up leaders like Dean Burton and people like Jerry that remained committed to the vision and to the mission, and so many others strengthening this church. Don't forget it. And don't forget how he supplied us. I mean, he started it, he strengthened it, he supplied NTCC. Well, to start off with, he gave us 70,000 square feet to 61 people. 70,000 square feet to reach out to a community. And then, in order to keep it going, he brought us more and more generous and big-hearted people. In fact, you'll find this interesting. Since that beginning, with those 61 people, he brought us 70 more. There are 70 more that have made public commitments. And many others who have not made public commitments, but have very quietly, but very solidly joined in this effort. Do you know that we have, this is good news. Seeing Matt come back in, yeah. But when we look at those that God has brought us, do you know that we have 2 that have quietly joined us from California, and they still live there? They watch us every Sunday morning, and they are as regular in their giving as many of you. Now let me qualify that statement. I do not know what individuals give. I do not know. But I do know that this couple sends in a check regularly. To God be the glory for the things he has done. Don't forget it. What he has done. Now, what about this? Let's go to present. What he is doing. What he has done, don't forget it. What he is doing, don't miss it. Don't only be looking in your rearview mirror. Don't only be hoping for something to change in the future. I think of this key verse here in this 11th chapter that we've looked at before, because it's primary, I think. And without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who exists, who comes to him, but anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. He what? He rewards. Don't miss what he is doing. He is rewarding those who seek. You sought Jesus. Now he's living in you. What a reward. You sought growth in your life. Now he's working in you. I just read that verse this morning in my own time. That verse out of Philippians. For God is at work in you, both to will and to work his salvation. He's rewarding. You sought Jesus, you sought growth, you sought the Word. You sought the Word, and he's communicating with you. That's reward. You sought to meet others' needs, and he chose to minister through you. Isn't that rewarding? Or how about this? You just sought comfort for yourself, and he ministered to you through your needs. Stand back and watch what my Lord can do. What he is doing, I mean, we looked at what he has done, don't forget it. What he is doing, that's the present. And then, how about this? What he will do. Don't limit it. What he will do, don't limit it. He will give us life beyond the grave. He will. Verse 19, Abraham reasoned that God could even raise the dead. Pretty good for a guy out of the Old Testament that at that point had about maybe a 25-year relationship with God. Abraham reasoned that God could even raise the dead, and so in a manner of speaking, he did receive Isaac back from death. We have a God that will give us life beyond the grave. How about verse 35? Women received back their dead, raised to life again. There were others who were tortured, refusing to be released so that they might gain an even better what? Resurrection. Don't limit what our God can do, and it starts with every one of us rising again from the dead with a brand new, incorruptible body. I want to go through a list here for a moment. Because we just are like the rest of this county. The average age in this county is in the 50s. Average age in this county. So we kind of match. Maybe a little bit higher than that. Right in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a list. We started with those 61, right? I want to give you a list of those who have gone on to their reward already. Gene Bortner, Russ Klein, Dick and Jackie Bogardus, Dolly Kirk, Elizabeth Davidson, Lynn Cunningham, Leroy Reeves, Dode Childs, Doris Johnson, Ted Cox, Lloyd Duggar, John Bedore, Dean Burton, Norma Dollard, Norva Green, Leo Moyers, Darlene Jackson, Dawn Lewis, Donna Wisely, Gayleen Barker, Robert Dollard, Tom Duncan, Sandy Downen, Dave Hickman, Martha Burton, Lee Madura, Nancy Irvin, Bert Miller. If you were counting, that's 29. That's 29 of the 61. Now, if you're talking about losses in battle, whew, that's pretty heavy losses. That's just short of half. But none of those were losses because they all went to be with the Lord, all in Christ, and he said, oh, you need a few more? I'll take care of that too. And some of you who are saying, I have no idea who those people are saying that because You've come in since. But guess what? You're a replacement for a God that always knows what needs to be done in the future. He will take care of it. Now, we have, of course, the ache from the loss of those people. Yet, at the same time, that ache is never completely overwhelming. It never defeats us because we do not grieve as those who have no hope. Yes, we grieve. Of course we do. But we have the victory. We have the joy because of the hope of resurrection, because those 29 are now alive, very much alive, with the Lord. And it's up for grabs whether or not they can see us right now. Possibility. He will give us life beyond the grave. He will come again for us. And when that happens, he will give us brand new, indestructible bodies. Then he will take us to a new home. Oh, by the way, since we're looking here in this 11th chapter, here's a verse about that. For he, this is talking about Abraham, was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. This guy Abraham, for being an Old Testament character, he's got like a New Testament faith. He believes in the resurrection. He believes in the heaven, the new heaven that God has built himself. I don't know what exactly he's going to do for you personally, here and now, during our time on earth, but I know this, he will always treat us as his children. He will always treat you as his beloved child because he loves you, he is present with you, he is protecting you, he will discipline you when you need it, but he's giving us unlimited sonship and daughtership in his kingdom. And what about right here at New Testament Christian Church? I mean, we've talked about what he's done, but what will he do in our future? Well, he actually has given us, though it has grown slowly, he has given us this, as of this year, our highest average attendance on a Sunday morning. He also, through the congregation, brought us to the highest level of giving that we have been at since our inception. In fact, this is very interesting. We are at $500 more per week than we were last year at this time. That's all the Sundays up through the present. And he's given us all kinds of outreach events and opportunities. You know, you can look at Christmas alone. It was interesting, and it always is. Not just the number of ladies, for instance, that, you know, attend their Christmas tea, but the number of people they bring with them as guests that aren't yet an integral part of this church, yet they bring them as we can reach out to them. I mean, sometimes it's like half and half. Or as long as we're talking about those kind of get-togethers, did you all notice, those of you who came to the party, the Christmas party, which, by the way, it was written up in the Stone County paper, did you notice how many we had that were just our guests that came in, that you brought? Amazing opportunities that he's given us to reach out. Our Jam and Beans has had the best attendance yet of people that come in and are part of that. Our PLL banquet, it was PLL's banquet, but that we hosted, there were nearly 600 people here in this gymnasium for that event. And maybe you noticed the great article, if you picked it up in the most recent Stone County paper, they wrote about our cookie outreach, about our outreach to the first responders. There's some 24 to 30 responders that we take those to on a regular basis and just say, we appreciate you. He's working. He's using us. And I haven't even really mentioned the building usage. We have greatly increased in charitable opportunities for building usage. Now, we are praying for more of what you'd call income opportunities. You know what I mean. We are about 6,000 maybe a month. It could be more than that, less right now than what we were at one time when we had some people, some nonprofit agencies that were able to be here on a regular basis and actually help provide monthly usage cost fees. And we're praying for that because God seems to always supply. Remember what he did with the school? Remember when the school came over and we had, we had a lot of people here, a lot of kids, and it lasted for about a year and a half. But it was a blessing to the church, able then to be able to cover things like, what if we need a new roof? What if we just need a portion of a new roof? What about one of those 30, how many is it? 33 units? What is it, Jerry? 33 HVAC units. Well, what about when one of them goes down and it costs $15,000? You know, we're going to have to rely on him to cover those things. So you can join in prayer and be asking God to bring about those blessings. But listen, keep your eyes open. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. What God is going to be able to do, don't limit it when you're asking for it. During the terrible days of the World War II Blitz, a father was holding his small son by the hand, and they were running from a building that had been struck by a bomb. And they were out in their front yard. There was a shell hole that the father saw. Seeking shelter just as quickly as he possibly could, he jumped into the hole, and then he held up his arms for his son to follow. The boy was terrified, just a little guy. He could hear his father's voice. He could hear his father saying, "Jump!" But finally the boy yelled out into the dark hole, "I can't see you! I can't see you!" And the father, looking up against a sky that was tinted red from all the bombing and all of the fire, the father, looking up, yelled out to the silhouette of his son and said, "But I can see you. Jump!" It's our faith, folks, that enables us to face life or even death, not because we can always see, but because of the faith that we are seen. That we are seen. Let's stand together. People of faith. People of faith are pleasers of God. Some of us, I suppose, were more pleasing to him last week than others. But you know what? He's a little different than even the best dad in this world. He's a little different than that, because whether we are pleasing him or not, he loves us just as much as he ever has. And so we're just learning to lean.